Oh my goodness, thank you so much to each of you for being here. I have to say, walking into a room like this, it is a very humbling feeling. Hearing kind words from so many people who I respect enormously and love, it's very humbling, and then also to be in a room like this. And my favorite thing about this room is that in here we have people who have been involved in politics for a long time, but we also have people for whom this is their very first political event. There are people in this room who are longtime liberals, and there are people in this room who are not liberals and are traditionally part of other parties, or people who have never been connected to a political party. There are people in this room who serve and contribute to levels of government, all levels of government in Ontario. There are people here who have run for office, people here who are elected to office, and there are a few people here who I think will run for office, and I am really excited about that. So thank you very much to each of you for being here. It's quite a treat. So 52 days ago, we launched a campaign to change the Ontario Liberal Party and the province of Ontario for the better. And over the last few weeks, literally hundreds of people have stepped forward to say, how can I help? And the reason for that is because there is a hunger for a movement in this province that will inspire people, that will motivate people, and it will give people power over the things that they care about. And that is what this campaign and this party is all about. Now, this spirit of community coming together and action is something that we as Londoners know very well. And you will all recall that it was just a few weeks ago in the neighborhood where Jesse and I live, where many of us live, in Old East Village was hit by a tragic explosion and fire. And there were hundreds of families who were left out of their home for the night. Some families lost their home. And you know what happened? Thousands of people came together to support their neighbors. Many of you stepped forward to support their neighbors. It was a coming together of community that I have never seen in London before, but that is here. And it is because that is what we do. And it is this same spirit of community coming together that we need to bring to our province, building up a party and a province of Ontario that we can be proud of. So I ran as your Ontario Liberal candidate in 2018. It was a tough election, as you may know. I ran because I wanted to be a part of the party that had enshrined universal health care into law, the party that brought forward the basic income pilot, the party that introduced full-day kindergarten, the party that closed down the coal plants, and the party that had brought unemployment to its lowest rate in 40 years. I ran because I wanted to make sure that my values and a voice for London and Southwestern Ontario were heard at Queen's Park. Hard work, community service, and a belief that when we work together, amazing things can happen. Those are the values that I was raised with, and those are the values of this party. But during that election, door after door, I heard the same thing. People said that they felt that the Ontario Liberal Party, after 15 years in power, had stopped listening. And we heard this, the further you would get from Toronto, the greater the sense that people's voice was not being heard. People felt powerless. And on election day, 43% of Ontarians didn't vote, which is more than the number of people who voted for any party or leader. So people voted for change, but I don't think they like the change they got. I'm not running because I want to change things for change's sake. I'm running because I want to live in a province where we are focused on people. In the last few weeks, I have traveled all across this province, and it has been an amazing and inspiring experience. In every community I have been in, every single one, there are things like the example on Woodman Ave. There are examples of communities coming together and working together on the issues that they care about, and they need a provincial government that listens to them, They need a provincial government that supports them and respects them. And this means we need to be less partisan and more focused on partnerships. It means pushing power out, not taking power in. I believe that politics is about giving people power over the things they care about. It is not about gaining power. It is not about holding power. It is about giving power. That is the kind of leader I will be of this party and the kind of premier I want to be in this province. En tant que chef du Parti libéral d'Ontario, je ne cesserai jamais d'écouter. And I will also keep working on my Duolingo. For me, leadership and listening go hand in hand. And this has been true in every role that I have ever been in. It was true when I was a waitress working at Richie's Restaurant to pay for my undergrad degree. People love Richie's Restaurant, of course, deserves a round of applause. It was true during the 10 years I spent as a public servant at City Hall, and it is certainly true in the work that I do now, teaching undergraduate students at the university. I was not born into a rich or powerful family. You have met my parents. We grew up in Exeter. My parents are both teachers. They did the work that they do because they care about the community and they wanted to see students thrive. But growing up, going to high school in the 1990s meant that I saw what happens when there is a government that doesn't listen. I went to a mostly rural high school that was underfunded, and there were points where I saw my own parents on the picket line. I saw the kind of instability and inequality that can produce. I saw what happens when there is a government that is not listening to people. At City Hall, during those years, I also saw what can happen when people can work together across party lines. At City Hall, we are not red or blue or orange or green, we were just Londoners. And when things worked best, it was when we were able to focus on people. And I saw this happen again and again. This was true, for example, in responding to some of the incidents of racism and hate in the city, when we put a call out to Londoners and said, hey, we need your help. If you have experienced these things, the answers rest with you. And more than 200 Londoners came forward to develop the city's first community diversity and inclusion plan. That is an example of giving people power over something they care about and listening to them, and amazing things happen when we do that. At Western, at Huron, and at King's, I now teach undergraduate students. I am teaching the next generation of public servants, and I am consistently amazed by how insightful and motivated young people are today. But it is really important, and it's one of my goals in each of my classes, that students learn the value of listening, particularly to people who hold different opinions from their own. Listening is important. But as much as we need to talk and listen to each other, we also need to act. Ontario is one of the richest places in the world. We live in a very prosperous province. And yet many Ontarians will say that they feel like life has become less affordable. There are 400,000 children living in poverty. Think about that. That's the size of London. The majority of minimum wage earners in this province are women, and we have not addressed persistent problems in the kinds of services that we rely on every day, like healthcare, education, and our environment. So our GDP numbers would suggest that things are going well. Our unemployment rate is low, and yet we know, and you do not have to walk far from here to know that that is not the experience that many people are having in this province. Many people are falling behind, and they feel powerless over things that are happening to them. And I believe this is a reflection of one central problem. Our politics in this province is broken. We are focused on the wrong things. GDP numbers do not measure how satisfied people feel about their quality of life. It doesn't measure whether we are taking meaningful action on climate change, and it doesn't address the affordability issues that people face. So in short, I think that we need to focus less on parties and partisanship and politics, and focus a heck of a lot more on people and their well-being. word well-being, and you've probably heard this used. This is a trend that is gaining ground in progressive governments around the world. You may know that New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern earlier this year introduced the world's first well-being budget. And it was an acknowledgement that her government needed to focus not just on the economic growth or system performance, but on the quality of life of the people it serves. I want to lead this same change in Ontario. There are politicians who are telling us that we have to settle for how things are now. Stagnant wages, a polluted environment, an economy where we see only the wealthiest succeeding. People who have been in the game for so long that we can't think of any other way to measure success except for these old measures. And you know, those things are important. We do need to pay attention to our economy and how it is growing, but they are a means and not the end. Economic growth is valuable insofar as it benefits all of us, not just the people at the top. So this might seem like a bit of a lofty goal, but I think as Liberals we are at our best when we think big about how to create a just society. So how are we going to make an Ontario that is focused on the well-being of people? Well, I think there are 4 things that are most important and we need to be focused on right now. The first one, we need to empower people where they live. Too many Ontarians feel like political participation has essentially no bearing on the community where they live or their life. We need to have a system where we are listening to people about the things that matter most to them. The same idea may not make the same amount of sense in downtown Toronto or in London or in Exeter or in the north. And so we need to be giving local leaders, local communities, and people power over the things that matter to them. Second, we need to focus on meaningful job creation. It is no question that our quality of life is fundamentally shaped by the work that we do and the conditions that we do it in. But we need jobs that generate both wealth and meaning. Our unemployment rate is low, and we know this in London, but it doesn't tell the full story because there are many people who have stopped looking for work. There's some barrier that's preventing them from getting into the workplace, or they cannot find work that is a fit for them. So we need more good jobs that pay wages and benefits, that can sustain a decent quality of life for a family, that aren't precarious. We need rewarding jobs where people feel they are fulfilled and living up to their full potential. Number 3, and I think you're going to like this one. We are going to make Ontario carbon neutral. Yeah. Reducing emissions is the key to the new global economy, make no mistake. And this is a much bigger vision for Ontario. This cannot just be about championing the green sector. This is about supporting every sector and industry in becoming greener. Climate change is an existential threat, and we need to build consideration of climate into every single decision we make. Ontario can either shape the climate economy, or Ontario's economy will be shaped by the climate. There will be more floods, there will be fewer jobs, and less financial stability. So transforming our economy into the new climate reality both creates economic growth and it improves our quality of life. It has to be a priority. Fourth and finally, we cannot talk about the well-being of people without talking about affordability. Ontario is one of the most prosperous places on earth, which is why it is totally unacceptable the number of people who have to choose between groceries and rent, between taking care of their children or pursuing a career, between making a tuition payment or taking care of a sick parent. We need an Ontario where it's not enough just to get by, but where people can live the lives that they aspire to live. So making life more affordable by providing access to food, education, housing. It means that when things happen to us, and things do, it could be a loss, could be a loss of a job, could be an illness, we need to know that we live in a province where our government has our back and where you are never on your own. And so we have the services to support people. We also need to focus on incomes continuing to rise and making it be faster for those at the bottom than those at the top. Closing that gap is a big part of the future success of the people in this province. So if we want an Ontario where we are focused on well-being, if we want to build the kind of party that people actually want to be a part of because they want that kind of Ontario too, this is the promise that I will make to you today. I will not stop listening to you. I will be relentless in my pursuit of an Ontario where we will not stop until every single Ontarian can live a happy, healthy life where they can pursue their own big dreams. Our party and our province need generational change, and that is why I am running to be leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. I think now more than ever before, we need big, bold ideas. We need change to happen quickly. We cannot wait decades. We do not have time. So my ask to you tonight is quite simple. If you want to see a change in the politics of this province, if you want to see a change in the Ontario Liberal Party, I need you to join me. This is not about me. It is not a leader race. It is a leadership race. It is about a big group of people coming together with a shared idea about how we want to see leadership happen in this province. So if you want to be a part of that change, I need you to join me on this team. If you want to build a more socially, racially, environmentally, and economically just Ontario, I need your help. If you want to build an Ontario where our measure of success is your well-being, I need you to join the team. So I'm asking you to have the courage to step forward in a very big way, as I am. I am asking you to believe and to put the time that is needed in to build a better, fairer, more just Ontario in the future. And there is not a doubt in my mind that when we come together, we can do exactly that. Thank you very much. Merci.